and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on. I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavour show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of...
I want you to picture a duck. Just, a standard mallard floating on a glassy pond.
Okay.
It looks incredibly serene, right? It's just gliding along, barely making a ripple, looking so regal and completely in control.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to stick a waterproof camera underwater and look up, you would see a completely different story. You'd see those little webbed feet paddling furiously, churning up the mud, fighting the current, doing absolute cardio just to keep that smooth glide going on the surface.
It is the classic duck syndrome. We usually hear about it with university students or high-level executives.
Yeah.
That disconnect between the calm, polished exterior and the frantic, chaotic effort happening just out of sight.
Exactly. And that image is the perfect lens for today's deep dive. We are looking at the events of Thursday, January 29th, 2026 in Ambridge. Because on the surface, we have this triumphant public event.
The unveiling of the Peggy Woolly artwork.
At Rewilding Ambridge, yeah. It looks like a massive success. The sun shines, the art is beautiful, everyone is happy. But beneath the surface,
Oh, it is absolute chaos.
it's frantic. We are talking about a deep dive into crisis management, perception versus reality, and the absolute lengths people will go to in order to protect the people they love.
And we've got two very distinct narratives running in parallel here.
We do. There's the logistical nightmare of pulling off this perfect public tribute, and then there's this quiet personal crisis that forced a friend to lie about their entire New Year's Eve.
And what connects them is that paddling. In both cases, you have characters working desperately to keep the water smooth for someone else.
So let's jump right into the deep end with the man of the hour, Justin Elliott. Now, if you were a casual observer walking around Ambridge on the morning of the 29th, and you bumped into Justin, what would you have seen?
Well, based on the accounts from the people closest to him, you would have seen a man who had already won. Lillian, his partner, describes him as borderline triumphant.
Borderline triumphant.
She says he came home the night before beaming.
Beaming. That is not a word you typically associate with Justin Elliott. He's usually more contained.
Calculated, yes. But the village consensus, from Rex to Joy to Lillian, is that if Justin is smiling, everything must be sorted. Joy Horville even mentioned she hasn't seen him that happy in ages.
So the assumption is the artwork's ready, the logistics are locked down, and the unveiling is just going to be a leisurely victory lap.
Exactly, a done deal.
Which is such a dangerous assumption to make with someone like Justin, because his entire career is built on projection. He projects confidence so you don't look too closely at the details.
But we have the detail.
We do. We have the transcript of his conversation with Kirsty, the project manager, and the reality it wasn't a victory lap.
No, it was a construction site. This is where the paddling furiously metaphor gets, well, literal. Justin Elliott, the corporate titan, the man who lives in bespoke suits, he reveals to Kirsty that he spent his lunch hour operating a mini digger.
I just need to pause on that image for a second. Justin Elliott in a mini digger.
It's jarring, isn't it? But he wasn't just posing for a photo op. He was practically part of the labor crew. He admits to Kirsty that without that machinery, they never would have made the deadline.
Wow.
And here's the detail that really changes how you view that triumphant morning. The artwork wasn't even anchored in the ground until mere hours before the guests arrived.
That is terrifying. So Lillian is waking up thinking, oh, Justin's happy, it's all finished, I'll just pick out my outfit. And meanwhile, Justin is probably checking the humidity levels and praying the concrete cures before 2:30.
In his words, touch and go. And I think this speaks to the burden of expectation. Justin had promised Lillian he would solve the situation with the memorial.
Right.
To admit that he was sweating over a cement mixer would be to admit the situation wasn't under control. So he hides the labor. He hides the paddle.
But the labor wasn't just physical, was it? There was a massive strategic crisis regarding the art itself. The centerpiece of the entire event was just wrong.
It was a disaster waiting to happen. The original piece, commissioned from the artist, Julie, turned out to be, well, underwhelming.
Underwhelming, how?
Justin realized it was too small. It just wasn't going to have the impact he promised Lillian. It wouldn't honor Peggy Woolly the way he said it would.
So he's stuck. The event is days away. The art is too small. Most people would just panic or, cancel. What does Justin do?
He treats it like a hostile takeover or a merger. He goes into this frantic negotiation with the artist. He admits he had to use all his powers of persuasion and, crucially, his checkbook.
Right. He ended up buying roughly half of her upcoming exhibition.
He raided her inventory. These were stained glass panels Julie had created for a show later in the year. Justin essentially bought them all to flesh out the installation at Rewilding Ambridge. He needed bulk, he needed impact, and he needed it immediately.
He calls it a win-win.
Which is classic corporate speak for, I paid a premium to save my own skin.
Ah.
He admits it cost him an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
But, and this is the clever part, the Justin part, he framed it to the artist as a marketing opportunity. He convinced Julie that having her work displayed at this high-profile opening would be better publicity than her future exhibition.
That is brilliant and manipulative all at once. He spins his own desperation into a favor for the artist.
That's why he's successful. But notice the motivation here. He isn't doing this to show off to the village, or at least not entirely. He's doing it because he cannot bear the thought of Lillian being disappointed.
He's throwing money at the problem to protect her feelings about her mother's memory.
Exactly.
But he couldn't do it alone. As much as he wrote the checks, he didn't put those panels in the ground by himself. And this is where the duck metaphor extends to the whole community.
Oh yeah. Rex makes a pretty snarky comment about how Justin's triumphs always seem to involve us doing most of the hard work.
And he's not wrong, is he?
Not at all. This was a total community mobilization. You have David Archer and Ben being drafted in specifically as Brawn.
And Ben has his graduation the very next day.
That context is crucial. Ben should be preparing for one of the biggest days of his life, resting, getting his gown ready. Instead, he's hauling stained glass and digging holes because the deadline is absolute.
It adds this layer of tension. If Ben gets hurt or if he's too exhausted, that impacts his graduation.
But the community prioritizes the event.
And it's not just lifting heavy things. Joy Horville is there, and she basically appoints herself the general of the kitchen.
She calls herself the skipper. And frankly, she saved the day on the hospitality front. She organized the mugs, the tea, the coffee flow. But look at the level of detail they went into amidst the panic. They hired mobility scooters.
That stood out to me. Amidst the chaos of concrete and glass, someone thought, how will Jill and Christine see this?
It's a crucial detail. It shows that while Justin was focused on the optics, the community was focused on the people. They wanted to ensure the matriarchs, the older residents, could physically access the site.
It's a touching juxtaposition. High-stakes panic about the art versus genuine care for the elderly guests.
And speaking of high stakes, we have to talk about the media presence, because it wasn't just the village watching.
No, and this is what ramped the pressure up from village fate to crisis management.
Borsetshire Life magazine sent their assistant editor, and they weren't just there to write a blurb, they were hunting for a cover shot.
That changes everything. It's one thing if the statue is a bit crooked and only Rex sees it. It's another if it's on the front page of the county magazine.
It meant the visuals had to be perfect. They were even trying to coordinate the livestock. Someone mentions trying to position the longhorn cattle closer to the entrance for a rustic photo op.
Introducing the Archer's Mug, where elegance meets everyday comfort. Crafted from premium white ceramic, designed with vibrant peekaboo colors inside, simple, modern, and stylish. Start your day the Archer's way, with warmth, familiarity, and the comfort of voices you've come to love. As the stories unfold on the Archers, let this mug become part of your daily ritual, a small reminder of life in Ambridge. Practical for every home, dishwasher and microwave safe. Available in 2 sizes, 11 ounces and 15 ounces, designed to fit your lifestyle. Enjoy your favorite drink in a mug that connects you to Britain's most beloved countryside story, The Archers. For more information and to order your very own The Archer's Mug, follow the link below and make it part of your daily routine.
Which, as anyone who knows cattle will tell you, is like trying to herd cats.
Cows do not follow a script, but it paints this frantic picture. You have Ben and David sweating over the installation, Joy barking orders about tea, Rex trying to wrangle cows, and Justin trying to look cool and collected while silently praying the photographer has a flattering lens.
So let's move to the moment of truth. 2:30 p.m. The guests are there, the photographer is ready, the veils are removed. What happens?
The universe blinks. The sun comes out.
You can't script that.
You really can't, but it happened.
Yeah.
As they unveil the stained glass, specifically the piece called the Sunrise Rainbow. The clouds part, the light hits the glass, and the effect is instantaneous.
The sources describe a moment of real tension right before that, though.
Oh yeah. Justin is whispering, "Do they like it? I'm not sure." He's genuinely terrified.
Which just validates how much this meant to him. He isn't arrogant in that moment, he's vulnerable.
But then the relief washes over. The Borsetshire Life guy is described as transfixed. He knows he has his cover shot. The cows might not have cooperated, but the light did.
And the family's reaction.
It was emotional. Kate is in tears. And perhaps even more telling, Brian, who is usually quite stoic, quite critical of these things, is captivated.
But the verdict that mattered was Lillian's.
That was the one. And she says she loves it.
And this brings us to the why. We talked about Justin protecting Lillian, but in the aftermath, when the adrenaline fades, we get a really profound conversation between them.
We do. Justin admits that while the community standing is nice, the essential thing was for Lillian to be pleased because it was a tribute to her mother, Peggy.
This leads to a fascinating retrospective, doesn't it? Lillian brings up how Peggy used to grill Justin in the car when they first started dating.
Yeah, the famous interrogations, checking if his intentions were honorable.
Which must have been so awkward for him.
At the time, for a man like Justin, wealthy, independent, powerful, having his girlfriend's mother interrogate him must have felt intrusive, maybe even insulting. But with the benefit of hindsight and maybe the closure this artwork provides, Justin reframes it completely.
What does he say?
He tells Lillian, it wasn't awkwardness, it wasn't intrusion, it was a mother's love. She didn't want you getting hurt.
That is a massive emotional leap for him. To see that interrogation not as an attack, but as an act of protection.
It validates his place in the family history. He's acknowledging that Peggy's roughness was actually her way of paddling furiously to keep her daughter safe. And because he honored that memory so perfectly with his artwork, Lillian gives him perhaps the highest compliment she can give. She calls him a very, very nice man.
Which, for Justin Corporate Raider Elliott, is probably worth more than the cover of Borsetshire Life.
It's the ultimate validation. He pulled it off. The duck glided across the lake, the magazine got the photo, and his partner feels loved.
But, and there's always a but in Ambridge. Just as we're celebrating this public victory, the deep dive takes a sharp turn. Because while the sun was shining on the stained glass, there was a shadow hanging over Joy Horville.
Yes. This is where we pivot from the public spectacle to the private secret. Throughout the source material, there's this thread of confusion regarding New Year's Eve.
Right. We need to untangle this. Mick Joy's partner had told people they went to a mate's pub for New Year's, but Joy had been vague. She hadn't confirmed it.
And people were talking.
Of course. In a village like Ambridge, silence breeds rumors.
So Fallon, being the observant friend she is, finally corners Joy gently and asks, "Are you two okay?" The assumption, naturally, is relationship trouble. If stories don't match up, people assume a breakup or a fight.
But Joy reveals that the lie wasn't about Mick. It wasn't about the relationship at all. It was about protecting her daughter, Roshelle.
And this story's heavy. Joy admits that New Year's Eve was actually dreadful. It started the bull. Apparently, George, another local, kicked off and said some things.
Okay.
Mick, being Mick, wanted to fight him.
So that's the cover story, the fight.
That's just the prologue. Joy de-escalated the fight, took Mick away to this friend's pub to cool off, but then her phone rang. It was Roshelle.
And for those who don't know the backstory, Roshelle has had a really rough go of it, legally and personally. She's been estranged, she's been in trouble.
She has. But the news on the phone was good, initially. Joy tells Fallon that the charges against Roshelle had been dropped. Roshelle was on her way to Ambridge. She has a new job. She's seeing her kids again.
That all sounds amazing.
And she's even met a new man, a divorced guy with 2 daughters who treats her well.
That sounds like the happy ending. So why was the night dreadful? Why the secrecy?
Because of the blip. That's what Joy calls it. Roshelle had a moment of panic, a profound crisis of confidence. She felt she didn't deserve this happiness.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. It's almost like imposter syndrome, but for life.
Exactly. It's a known psychological reaction. When you've been in crisis mode for so long, when you're used to chaos, stability feels suspicious. You feel unworthy of it.
So Roshelle came to Joy's house in a state.
And Joy spent the entire night, New Year's Eve, just talking her down.
Just holding her hand and telling her it's okay to be happy.
Helping her accept that she's allowed to have a future. And this is why Joy lied. She let people gossip about her relationship with Mick. She let people wonder if they were breaking up. She took that hit to her reputation to shield Roshelle.
Because she knew that if the village knew Roshelle was back and having a meltdown, the judgment would start all over again.
She tells Fallon, "Not everyone is as forgiving as you are." It's a powerful observation about small communities. Joy created a smokescreen, the mystery of New Year's, to buy her daughter the privacy to heal. It's a protective lie.
It mirrors what Justin did, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. That's the synthesis here. Both Justin and Joy engaged in frantic, high-stress management behind the scenes.
Justin is managing logistics, diggers, and artists to protect Lillian's feelings and the family's reputation.
And Joy is managing a psychological crisis to protect her daughter's fragile, fresh start.
And in both cases, the public face, the duck gliding on the water, was maintained. Justin looked triumphant. Joy just looked like she was having a quiet New Year.
But underneath, they were both paddling for dear life.
It really makes you think about the events we attend. You go to a wedding, a christening, or a village unveiling, and you see the polished result. You rarely see the duct tape holding it together or the emotional labor happening in the corner.
And often, the true success of these events isn't about the stained glass or the catering. It's about the acts of kindness that nobody sees. Justin reassuring Lillian. Joy holding Rochelle's hand through the night. That's the real work.
It's the stuff that doesn't make the cover of Borsetshire Life.
Precisely. The magazine captures the light hitting the glass, it misses the mini digger, and it misses the mother comforting her daughter.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into January 29th, we are left with a few questions. We know the artwork is up and the sun came out. But regarding Roshelle, can a fresh start truly stick in a place with so much history?
That's the big question. Joy has bought her some time and space, but the past has a sticky way of catching up in Ambridge. The blip might be over, but the recovery is long.
And for you listening, I'd ask this. The next time you see someone who looks like they have it all together, the perfect event, the perfect smile, ask yourself, how fast are they paddling underwater?
And how much of that success is just a frantic scramble to avoid letting down the people they love?
A little thought to take with you into your day. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
See you next time.
So, what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just
And,
moving mics around.
So, what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the arches. Any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep.
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
Yep. That's the ball bar. That's,
This one.
yep. That's.
Haley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline.
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community, whatever